tired of being bombarded with messages telling you what your life should look like and how you should gauge your success or your happiness? From the time that we start school all the way through our education, we're given certain gauges. They come at us everywhere, in sports, in the workplace, and even in the homes that we grow up in. Well, what if I told you that most of the gauges that we're using to kind of determine if our life is running right, if we're on track, what if I told you most of those gauges are probably leading us in the wrong direction? Hey there, my name is Thad, and I want to welcome you to the Journey Church. We are an out-of-the-box church for people everywhere. Whether you're young, old, Latino, black, white, Asian, single, married, whether life is going great for you, or maybe you're really struggling with some stuff. I just want you to know that we are glad that you're here. Everything we do is focused on helping you learn how to follow Jesus, understand the Bible, and feel confident that you're actually doing it. You're actually being a Christian. Well, in this series, we're going to explore a new way to experience joy and happiness, a way that is not dependent on your outward circumstances. And we're going to challenge you to unlearn some things that have always seemed normal to you, maybe even second nature. And to do this, we're going to dive into the section of the Bible that's known as the Beatitudes. And honestly, it's probably one of the most known about parts of the Bible, and simultaneously one of the most confusing parts of the Bible. I think most people read these weird statements from Jesus and just kind of skip past them. Here's the thing though, these things that Jesus says here in the Beatitudes, they're some of the most disruptive and powerful things that he ever went on record and said. He's totally flipping the religious script upside down. He's telling people about a radically new way to gauge who was really in God's kingdom. And I want to let you in on a little secret. Some of you may know this, but the people that Jesus described, the ones that were going to be in, they were not the kind of people that the religious crowd was very excited about. So for the way that we're going to teach this series, I got to jump in the truck and take a look at the dashboard, believe it or not, to help explain how we're going to unpack the Beatitudes. So follow me. Let's go over and climb in the truck and take a look at some things that you may or may not be familiar with. Let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with the gauges in the car or truck that you drive? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you don't even pay attention to them. Well, we have a big 1-ton Ford diesel truck for towing our fifth wheel, and this truck has a lot of gauges. We've got this thing over here that's a custom aftermarket tool that's designed to provide even more gauges. I can see what the engine oil temperature is, the water temperature, the transmission temp, and then over here, I can see our fuel level, and of course the ones that everybody's familiar with, speedometer and RPMs. And even if you don't know how an engine works, you know that what the gauges are sort of supposed to read in order to determine if the vehicle is running right. Well, similar to the dashboard, we all have these various gauges integrated into our lives. Things that are telling us what we need to do to become more independent, or to refuel our happiness tank, or to make ourselves stronger, or maybe to know what corners we can cut and still be okay. But what if these gauges that we're using are leading us in the wrong direction? What if it's time to rebuild the instrument panel and install some new gauges to help us measure if our lives are actually running right? Speaking of what ifs, what if you were filming for an episode and hypothetically maybe you were flying your drone way up the canyon wall of the Snake River like these walls behind me here, and you happen to stumble across some amazing wildlife? Would you pause the episode and go see some of those really cool animals that you may never get a chance to see again? I don't know about you, but I certainly would. We're going to get back on topic in a couple of minutes, but I have to jump back up there in the drone and let's see if we can go find something amazing. All right, that was just too cool not to share some of those shots with you. So back to the message, what we're talking about. We got Jesus, we got a new set of gauges, and he's flipping the script on who's in the kingdom of heaven. In his longest recorded sermon, he described what he was looking for in his followers, telling anybody who would listen that God would bless them if they were willing to rebuild their dashboard, so to speak, and live by his new set of gauges. Jesus described these new gauges, if you will, in a passage of scripture that many people have heard of. In the Bible, it's referred to as the Beatitudes. Kind of a funny word. We'll get more into that as the series goes on. But these are the things that Jesus really wanted people to hear and grapple with right out of the gate. They're the things that set the stage for everything else he was about to teach. And they essentially lay out this new set of gauges that he was calling his people to measure their lives by. It's sort of like Jesus' way of saying, these are the new ways you'll know if your life is running right. Well, through these words, Jesus is still speaking and issuing a challenge. If you want to live God's way, get ready to say and do things that seem strange to the world. It's as if Jesus is trying to get everybody prepared to help them understand you need to get ready for different. In this series, we're going to learn about these different gauges and help make some sense of some of the most important things that Jesus ever taught. We're going to explore what it means to give when others take, or love when others hate, and to maybe help when others abuse. But I want to warn you up front, if you're serious about changing out the gauges that you live by, you're going to face some opposition. But hey, here's the fun thing. Life's full of opposition. Like, we're going to face opposition in our lives no matter what, and hard things are going to come up. But I'd much rather go through hard stuff if I know I'm on the right path. Learning how to live the way that Jesus says will lead to some pretty amazing benefits. And I'm not talking about just in heaven benefits. Jesus is talking about some things that will help us immensely and be very good for us in the here and now. watch the next episode in the series, I want to challenge you to read through Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. And I would encourage you to try reading them in a couple of different Bible translations. Then be sure to check out the study guides that go along with each episode. There'll be one for this episode as well. You can find the link for the guide in the description below. And if you want more help digging into the things that we're talking about in this series or any other part of your walk with God, reach out. We would love to connect with you. We'd either work with you one-on-one or help you get plugged into one of our great virtual groups that we've got starting up. We're excited to see what gauges we come up with next week to help us learn about this first beatitude. Until then, I got to see if those sheep are still up there somewhere. Let's go back and look.